tonight. Maybe you'll meet somebody new. But feel free throughout to throw your questions in the chat. My teammate Chelsea is here. Hey, Chelsea, will you wave at us?
Hello.
Yay. Chelsea's monitoring the chat, and if there's a question that they feel comfortable answering, they'll definitely do that. Otherwise, we will pause to answer questions at a couple different points throughout tonight's discussion. But I have not introduced myself yet. My name is Anna Tragesser. I'm the Director of Community Impact and Strategic Investment at Indie Arts Council, and I'm joined today by three recent Creative Renewal Arts Fellows. Brandy Metzger. Hey, Brandy, will you wave at us? Thank you. Daniel Del Real. Hey, Daniel. What's up?
Hey, everybody.
And Sean Causey. Hey,
Hi.
Sean. We will have a chance to hear more from them about their experiences very soon. You are all probably here tonight. Hopefully, you are here tonight because you know that you've been confirmed eligible to continue on the application process for this upcoming Creative Renewal Arts Fellowship. Yay! That's great. We've made it through the first step together. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then reach out to me and let's just confirm that you've made it through the first eligibility checkpoint. Um, but what we'll do tonight is we will go over the purpose of the fellowship, just to make sure we're all on the same page. I'll give you some examples. Actually, we'll have our guest speakers share about their experiences of what they've done in past rounds. And we will also explain the application process and give you some tips about completing it. And then finally, we'll hear from this crew about how they put together their plans for renewal and hopefully give you some solid advice on how just making sure that you're really creating what will be a renewing experience for you personally. Like I said, we'll take questions at the end of our time together. I may also pause in the middle in case there are a lot of questions coming up, but feel free to add to them to the chat anytime. This workshop is being recorded and will be posted to the Creative Renewal Fellowship webpage probably tomorrow, as soon as we can get it going. This program was established in 1999 by the Lilly Endowment, which has actually similar programs for folks in other areas of occupation. So teachers, clergy, human service professionals, and also youth workers. But the Creative Renewal Arts Fellowship is the first of its kind in the nation. Since 1999, it has invested more than $5 million into over 500 artists and arts administrators in central Indiana. The Creative Renewal Arts Fellows pursue activities that refresh and reconnect them to their creativity, their well-being, or their goals. And because renewal looks differently for every single person, the fellowship activities vary drastically from person to person. There's a lot of flexibility in what this fellowship could be for you. In the past, activities have included travel, maybe to explore new ideas or cultures or art forms. Maybe someone's pursued new or even familiar avenues of artistic expression in this fellowship. I see a lot of folks who want to dive into genealogical research or even kind of pursue a type of like heritage pilgrimage. A lot of folks will spend some time in wellness practices or even artistic retreats. There's certainly a focus often on spiritual practice and guidance. And I've certainly seen a lot of folks spend some time and resources on personal training, nutrition, health support. But there's so much more that this fellowship could be. And the point is that your fellowship activities should make sense for you specifically and uniquely at this point in your life and what it is that you need for renewal. And as we will talk about in a moment, that is a key to putting together a successful fellowship application, is making this clear, helping us understand who you are and why this is important, why these specific activities are important for you right now. Okay, this is a really important thing I'm about to say. If you hear nothing else from me tonight, please hear this. This is not a project grant for artistic production. This is not a fellowship that is meant to bring about more work for you is not a fellowship that is specifically focused on more creative output. It is more of a fellowship to focus on artists and arts administrators to take a break and invest in yourself. We do believe that beginning there, taking care of yourself and refreshing really personally yourself, leads to a more sustainable career, life, whatever it looks like. We hope this maybe is a beginning of that journey. Let's hear a little more about some of the recent fellowship activities. So, Sean, will you give us a quick overview of what you've done with your fellowship recently?
Sure. Hi, everybody. Let's see. This is from last year. A couple of pictures from Ireland. That's where I went last year, and I went to a piano teachers retreat in the South, and then I spent some time on the East Coast. There was a vegan cafe that I wanted to visit there, and I just got some time alone on the beach, and I discovered these incredible rocks while I was there, which I don't tell anyone. I brought them home. I'm not sure if I was supposed to, but I spent days with my face just down in the rocks, laying on the beach, and it was exactly what I needed. So this was my second creative renewal. I got one 10 years ago, and I went to Istanbul that time um, for a variety of reasons. But this trip to Ireland was sort of a follow on because that first renewal, like you just mentioned, I didn't get to do everything that I listed, and it was going to be a two-part deal. So I returned to the idea and then reinterpreted it for this visit.
Thank you. Yeah,
Mhm.
if you didn't know, it is possible to receive this fellowship twice in your lifetime, no more than twice. And folks wait 10 years before applying again. Folks who have not received the fellowship are prioritized to receive the fellowship, but absolutely, folks receive it more than once. Thank you, Sean. We'll hear more
Thanks.
from Sean in a little bit. Daniel, tell us about your fellowship.
So my fellowship took me to Japan, and I decided to go there just because I'm a big anime fan, Pokemon fan, Nintendo fan, just lifetime fan. I like ramen, all that stuff. So I really wanted to be immersed in that culture. And what you see here is me posing with the Glico neon sign in Osaka. And then over here on the right, I'm partaking in a kintsugi workshop with a seasoned, established kintsugi artist who was offering that workshop. So my renewal entailed doing a bunch of things on my bucket list and really things that I enjoy. I enjoy going to museums. I did a lot of museum visits. But the highlight of my trip was visiting temples and shrines. And so I dubbed it a pilgrimage where I visited 19 cities and hit up a different shrine or temple and just sort of find my inner peace, I guess, in all these temples and shrines. It was a really rewarding experience for me.
Thank you, Daniel. Finally, Brandy, we'd love to hear. Tell us a little more about what you did during your fellowship.
Right. So I used my fellowship to like immerse myself in a very different art form than is my kind of typical art practice, and that's dance. So more specifically pole dancing. I use the fellowship to kind of build like that practice and um spend time in a pole dancing studio and just get other kinds of equipment that I needed to practice. And then, yeah, just kind of doing something that was going to be some kind of like release of creativity and just self-expression and confidence. So it was something that I very much needed at the time. So that's what I did.
Thank you. Every single one of these fellowship experiences, Daniel, Sean, and Brandy, they had really reflected quite a lot on why these experiences were important for them in this season. And we're going to dive more into that later. But for now, don't limit yourself to anything that you're hearing right now. Let all of these conversations open up possibility for you, but more specifically, listen to look inward and look to what is it that you and your spirit and yourself are needing in this season. is going to be the best advice I can give you if I have to sum it up. But I won't. Don't worry. We'll get deeper. There are so many more examples of fellowship activities. Definitely encourage you to check out this webpage. Chelsea and some of our teammates have put together some fabulous stories. I believe the stories that are up on this webpage at this point are from 2 rounds ago. Still great, still useful. And then these will be updated pretty soon with this most recent fellowship that's wrapping up that Daniel, Sean, and Brett and Brandy are all part of. So check that out just to hear more about the types of activities that folks are pursuing, but more specifically what they experienced and what this brought them, to try to get a sense of what might be a successful approach for your application. This fellowship also includes several celebration moments. So we will have an induction ceremony in November at the Indianapolis Arts Garden. See some familiar faces there. Daniel and Brandy there right in front. We will also gather together as a cohort 4 times over the course of the 18 months that this fellowship technically lasts. And then we will also have a culminating exhibition that's more of a retrospective that just celebrates the folks who've been part of the fellowship. But don't worry about any of those right now. These are just the cherry on top of the experience, meant to celebrate what is happening and are really not meant to add another project to your plate. Your next step in this fellowship in this fellowship journey is to complete the full application. So you have submitted your eligibility information. That was in June, middle of June. Yay. And you've been confirmed eligible. Woohoo! Now you need to go back to the application that you actually submitted. It's changed a little. If you haven't logged in and looked at it yet, there are more fields for you to complete. So you need to go back in and complete the full application by August 2nd, 11:59 p.m. August 2nd, 11:59 p.m. That's your deadline to submit the full application. But there also is an opportunity if you want to submit your application early by July 12th, 11:59 p.m., a few more days, then me or my teammate Corey will take a look at your full application and we'll give you some feedback. We'll do our best to put ourselves in the place of the reviewers and anticipate the questions they'll have to try to strengthen it the best that we can before that application deadline. So you will have the opportunity to be able to edit it, of course, after this draft review. What happens after you submit the application? Well, between August and October, your application will be read and scored by a group of just really wonderful arts leaders who are not from Central Indiana. They're actually from around the nation. But they are leaders and thought leaders who understand the value of this concept of renewal for creative communities. And so they will score their applications, and those scores help us put together the selected group of 50 fellows who will receive this fellowship very soon. Early November is when you will learn about the status of your application. So what is it that we're looking for in your application? I will do my best to give you all the answers. There's no secrets here about what's going to make a successful proposal. So I'll do my best to really just make it as obvious as possible. There are 4 main things that we're looking for in a proposal. What I call alignment. The activities that you're proposing are aligned with the intention of the Creative Renewal Arts Fellowship. Basically, what I've stated earlier, we don't want to see project-y, worky things. That's a yellow light for us. It's not really aligned with the intention of this proposal. Secondly, we're looking and trying to understand the need for renewal right now. There should be a clearly described need for the renewal at this point in your life and career in the arts. We want to try to understand and imagine what the impact of these activities will be for you specifically. So give a clear explanation of how your activities will renew you personally or professionally. Often those things are very, very close together, especially those of us who work in the arts. And finally, feasibility. We want a feasible, clear, relatively detailed plan for your activities. notice that there is nothing on here about your work quality, your work samples, your career history. You've already been confirmed that you should be in this pool based on some of those things, your career history. Um, Now we're just focusing on these things. Okay, so don't worry anymore about what work you have done in the past. Really, now we're looking at the sense of renewal. What do you want to do, and will it be, how will it be impactful for you? And my best advice for you, I think I've said this before, is just to be genuine. Be genuine and understand yourself well enough to show us these things. Sometimes it just does take some reflection. Um, and and the more as vulnerable as you feel comfortable being in this process, it usually helps us understand how these pieces all connect together. Feel free to reach out to me if you are not sure about how to approach or communicate any of this. That's exactly what we're for. And this process stays within the process. This information is not shared publicly, stays within our staff who's involved in this and the reviewers who are reading it. Okay, in just a moment, we are going to actually look at the application so you can understand how, the questions that are being asked, and I'll try to give you my best tips on what to respond. But at least you understand like what makes strong content, what kinds of things are we looking for? But let me pause for a moment and just check in with Chelsea. Chelsea, any questions we need to answer so far?
Oh, we have three great questions so far. Um, First one's an early bird question. So if people do decide to take you up on getting that feedback ahead of time, will that be automatically given, or do they need to request feedback?
Great question. Nope. If you have it submitted by July 12th, we'll go ahead and read it. We will send you an email with all of our feedback, and then you can continue editing your application until August 2nd. So you will fill out your application completely, hit submit. Anything that is submitted by July 12th will give feedback, and then you don't have to do anything else to be able to submit it again. Just make sure it's all knitted up and as you want it to be read by August 2nd, and it will be reviewed in that state.
Second question, this one might be a little specific, so it might not pertain to everybody, but if are two different people, so this is a person that has a sister that would be eligible to apply as well, is there a benefit or risk to them applying for a joint renewal activity? I would assume they both need to apply separately, and then it's their choice if they'd like to submit together, but I don't know the answer to that. So.
Oh, great. Okay. So I can see this question. This person sounds like this sister is applying for not this Creative Renewal Arts Fellowship, but maybe there is a teacher fellowship that the Lilly Endowment offers in a separate program. That's great. Love it. Love to see all those renewal experiences being offered to other folks as well. So this is probably a little bit more specific. Would encourage Elizabeth, I would encourage you to maybe submit early if you can so we can take a look at it. But oftentimes, folks who are awarded this, they're planning something to happen with their family or with a partner or with a group of friends. That's great. Honestly, if you're meeting all those criteria on the screen previously, like there's plenty of reason why we do this in community. And so from that perspective, that's great. Go ahead and do that with your sister in mind. When we think about the feasibility of these opportunities, like, there might be some questions potentially about like, depending on what you're proposing, if she doesn't receive the fellowship, will you still be able to do what you propose? So you might just want to build in some flexibility for yourself there. But definitely, I think it's relevant to say that this could be something that you would want to do with your family or someone important in your life.
Okay, one quick follow-up to the earlier question about requesting feedback. How quickly can they expect an email back from you or Corey?
Yeah. I would say I know some folks have already submitted, so I'm not sure if that's the case for this person who is asking questions. So we'll start basically on Monday. Corey's not available right now, so the both of us are still gearing up for it. So it would probably be a probably late next week into the week after that you'll be receiving some feedback from us. But if you are in a rush or something is on your mind, feel free to reach out to us anytime. We'll do our best to get you in a timely way.
This is a question about itinerary. If we are putting together a trip, would a detailed day-by-day itinerary be needed or a general plan, general outline needed?
General plans are okay. We're not even, you'll see in the application, we're not even going to ask you for like a budget or anything like that. So more bigger picture in this grant. We just want enough detail to understand like what it is that you're doing and be able to support those criteria that are like, this is going to be a renewing experience for you. So most likely it'll be not you don't want to be like too vague where it's hard to tell what's going on, but you do not need to give like a full schedule of what's happening.
That's people working ahead. I love it as a Virgo. And then final question for the draft. Does the question about leave need to be answered at this point?
Okay, great question. This person is referring to if you are applying as an arts administrator, then and you also will need to take an extended leave of absence in order to complete the fellowship activities that you're proposing. We just want to confirm with your basically your leadership that that's going to be cool. We wouldn't want to send you off on a journey where we set you up for a bad relationship with your employer. So there's a short form just to basically acknowledge that your employer is aware that this might be needed and that it would be cool with them. So that's a great question. Just email me separately, fill it out fully and completely. You won't be able to submit it because it will require an upload. So just email me separately if you want us to take a look at that without that leave uploaded. You can get a hold of me. The easiest thing to do is email grants@indiearts.org. I'm typing it in the chat. grants@indiearts.org. That'll go to both me and my teammate Corey. That way we can try to answer your questions as quickly as possible. Okay. Is that everything, Chelsea?
Yep, that is good. I'm answering a question here on the side. So
Cool. Awesome. Thank you so much. Let's dive into the application form itself. What does it look like? Many of you probably have already looked at this, maybe even submitted it. Like I said before, you can continue editing it even if you've already submitted it again. You can continue editing it until the application deadline. So if you learn something tonight and you're like, oh, shoot, need to go back and fix that, go for it. But in general, just reach out to us if you encounter any challenges with this platform. You've already been in this once, right? You've submitted your eligibility information. So when to complete the full application, you'll log in again to indiearts.grantplatform.com. And when you log in, click on the apply button at the top and scroll to the bottom of that page where you can see some open opportunities and also any of the applications you've started or submitted in the past. So we're looking for our Creative Renewal Arts Fellowship Round 14 application. We'll click that application title to open it up. And this should look familiar to you. The first several tabs here are what you've already completed. You have already completed your eligibility information. Yay. You've already submitted work samples. If you're an arts administrator, you didn't submit work samples. If you're applying as an artist, you did. You've submitted demographic information. Look how far you are in this application already, y'all. Great job. What we're really focusing on in this section is the project narrative. So these earlier tabs, I wouldn't even edit them. It's not relevant for you to spend time on that. We've already confirmed that we basically already looked at that information. We have what we need from you there. So don't really worry about editing, updating any of these first tabs. This project narrative is where the meat of this application is. A little intro here just to try to give you as many reference points as possible. If you haven't read the guidelines yet, you should do that. These are important rules and requirements for this fellowship and also reiterate a lot of what I'm saying here, but it's just always important for you to read the guidelines of any grant that you're applying for. Try to pull everything we know about this fellowship onto our webpage here. And then, as you probably saw, we are also hosting a more live version of the same workshop. If you're interested in doing it again, great. Come see us on July 27th at Indie Arts Council. But the content will be very similar to what we're doing here. Different speakers, same content otherwise. Okay, and the rest of this should be familiar with you with what we already talked about. So our first question here, describe your experience. This says as an arts administrator because that's how I started this application. If you're applying as an artist, it's going to say describe your experience as an artist. And here we encourage you to include particular challenges or opportunities that you face as an arts administrator and how this affects where you are today. So let me pop back over to our criteria. This is a question where we're definitely trying to understand who you are. These reviewers who are reading this don't know you. They've never met you before. They're not from this region. So they want to understand who you are, and they're also trying to get a sense of like what's the need for renewal at this point. So this one is obviously very specific to your experience. So help them understand what's going on in your life right now. What is your plan for creative renewal? This is where you're just going to tell us, like, what is it that you want to do? I've already shared my advice on some of the level of detail that you may or may not get into here. There's no character limit or word limit on any of these narrative questions. So you can add what you feel is needed to help these folks understand the criteria, right? What is it that you're doing? Is it in alignment with the intention of this fellowship? And basically, they're also probably going to be looking for feasibility here too. Is there enough detail that they can tell that you have you've done some research and it's probably feasible? For example, if you're traveling, are you traveling? I think I can remember one example from a couple years past where someone was proposing some travel to a nation that was not safe and not had not been safe for Americans to travel to for some time, or at least the way that the State Department was describing that, like that might be one example of that. Or if you are proposing something that is really seems really intense, maybe a whole lot uh, of demand on your like maybe physical demand. There's plenty of folks who do a lot of like hikes, propose some outdoor activities. These folks they're going to be wanting to care for you and understand that you're ready for that. So maybe a little bit of detail, even if it's like, I know that I'm going to need to prepare for this, or I've been preparing for this for a long time. There's a lot of different ways these plans could go. So there's a lot of different possibilities about what kinds of details are needed. Mostly just help these folks feel confident that you have spent a little bit of time reflecting on how this is right for you right now and that it's something that is reasonably possible. Now, as we're going to hear from some of our friends who are on the call, plans change. They always change. Plans will always change. So it's okay if that happens, but we want to approach this with the best understanding we can about what your activities will be. Next, how would your proposed fellowship have an impact on you professionally and personally? I would say that this question is important, somehow connected often to this question. Describe your experience as an arts administrator. So we're getting to know you, or as an artist, we're getting to know you here a little better. What's life like for you? What's been going on for you? What's your experience when working in this field? And then what is it that is needed for you, right? How is this going to bring about what renewal is for you? And I think it's important to be clear and maybe even like, if it feels obvious to you, say it anyway. Like, what is renewal to you? Because it's different for every single person, maybe in the world. Is it that you need to spend some time focusing on a totally different creative discipline like Brandy did? Is it that you just need to plunge in freezing cold water for a long time? consistently and it's a mental reset or a physical reset? Is it that you are seeking, like, to understand some of your heritage or family, like what some of those experiences were? A lot of folks pursue that kind of, just being in the same space. So be clear about what renewal is for you so that we can see how these activities are clearly connected to what you're seeking. And by the way, I think, what we're looking for here is not, wow, this person's going to be a completely different person by the end of this fellowship. That's not what it's about. It's more about just understanding who you are right now and what would just kind of like connect with that need for whatever renewal is for you. You don't need to promise anything big in this, right? This is just about reflecting on what's going on in your life right now and having had the time to think about how to care for yourself. I think that's really what's showing up in this question. The second question, this next question, what makes your proposed creative renewal experience so important for you to undertake at this time? Very, very connected, of course, to this earlier question. Sometimes this means being more explicit about like what's going on in your life right now or what has been going on that really makes this the right moment for you to pursue these activities. There is one other question. If you have received this fellowship in the past, let me show you. This is a fun feature. This changes slightly. This questions change slightly depending on your answer. So I just changed that to show you that since you are a previous recipient, please indicate how this experience builds upon your previous renewal experience. Why do you feel that it's needed to participate in this fellowship again? Like I said before, you can apply for a second time with a 10-year gap between applying. And folks who have not received this fellowship in the past are prioritized to receive it. So if you have received it already, then help us understand like what makes this the right time for you to do it again, to try to give us a little bit more context to help know why it's important to give you this fellowship. Okay. If you are applying as an administrator, as an arts administrator, this means that you are currently employed as a full-time employee at an arts nonprofit, then this is the only reason this question would show up for you. If you're applying as an artist, you will not even see this question. If you are applying as an arts administrator and you do not need a leave of absence from your employer, whatever activities you're proposing, it's just not even a relevant question to ask, then you will not need to upload this. But if you do, then you'll do so in this next tab. This is a very simple form. Like I mentioned before, you'll download this, just click this here and it'll open up. It's just an acknowledgement from your employer that they know you're applying for this, and whatever you have been kind of planning, it's clear that you're going to need an extended leave of absence. If you have any questions about that at all, contact us at grants@indiearts.org. That's the application. When you've completed everything, you can click submit. Oh, and if it knows that you've forgotten to fill something out, don't worry, it'll alert you. You can leave this application and come back to it. Everything saves automatically as long as you've been connected to the internet. But you can also, save and come back to it later. And as I showed you before, you can open up and continue working on your application like how we got to this page. Okay, any other questions that have come up so far?
Yes, two questions.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm sure this is on everybody's mind, but what kind of answer is too long or too short? What's the Goldilocks of it all?
It is on everyone's mind. I've already answered that question 3 times today. It's amazing. So we intentionally did not give you a word limit because everyone is just so different, and we want to just give you the space to say what it is that you want to communicate. However, these reviewers often find it most useful for you to be direct and concise. I would say loosely, Each one of these questions definitely should not be more than 1 page of a response if you're thinking about visually what you're doing. I don't know how many characters that comes out to, but yeah, definitely not more than that. If you think about it, that's like maybe 6 pages of someone reading these responses. So your reviewers will be able to process information better when you are concise and direct. Otherwise, say what you need to say, be genuine, be as vulnerable as you feel comfortable being.
Mhm. And then this one might be a future thought, but how often are check-ins during the fellowship? Like, how
Oh,
often do
okay.
they have to update us on progress, I'm guessing is the question.
You don't have to. We're here anytime there are issues. We'll talk things through. That happens pretty frequently. Plans need to change. We want to know if plans are changing, but otherwise, we get together. We have some of those cohort gatherings I mentioned earlier that are really more just social to connect with your cohort. Otherwise, you will submit a report at the very end of your fellowship that just gives us some reflections on what you experienced, what you did, some photos, and good times. Okay.
Sorry, late answer or late
Yeah.
question just came through. Considering all of this professional and personal, how personal is too personal for the reasons for the need of renewal? I promise to not use the word personal that much in my application as I did in the last sentence, smiley face.
I love that. That might be a specific situation. So, Anna, if you want to reach out to me, I'd be happy to talk it through. Honestly, as much as you feel comfortable sharing is okay. Um, there have been so many different responses to these questions, so a lot of them very personal.
Whoops, one more came through. Oh, two more. Oh my God, everybody has questions now. Two more. Would you have advice if we are considering multiple activities? So multiple trips or a trip, a more consistent activity, tool training, etc., or is it best to just focus on one activity?
This is actually a really great segue into some of our conversation with our guests tonight. So we'll hold on that question and maybe hear some advice from some of them.
Hmm. And then, how specific do they want for travel? Exact workshops that they're wanting to do, museums they want to visit, or is it more general?
I guess it depends on the story that you're trying to tell about what renewal looks like for you. Often, if there's like a residency or an extended workshop, we'd like to see like what is it and is it feasible? Is it happening? Is it something you can get into? Um, Specific museums you want to visit, maybe not as important to be as specific, but if you're trying to communicate more about the renewal experience you're pursuing, sometimes it is important to be specific there. Sorry, that was a little bit of a vague answer, but it depends. So, um, exact itineraries would be too much, but places you're going and enough information that we can clearly see that it seems feasible is great. Great questions, everyone. Thank you so much. I would love to talk a little less and listen a little more, and instead hear from some of our guest speakers tonight. So let's go ahead and hear from Sean, Daniel, and Brandy. First, all right, anyone who wants to share, Sean, Daniel, or Brandy, can you tell us more about what renewal is to you, or what kind of like when we just are asking, renewals for different for everyone, what was renewal that you were pursuing in your fellowship activities?
I'll
Sean,
go
you want
for
to kick us off?
Oh, Daniel, you go.
okay.
Yeah.
All right. So for me, renewal was a number of things. It was getting away. At the point that I applied for the creative renewal, I was 4 years into a job as a curator, working Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, and sometimes even weekends. And I was working well over 40 hours per week. And so I was exhausted and I needed to just get away. And that was what renewal represented for me. Also, at that point in my life, I had never left the country. And so I had that yearning to get out and discover something new. And so that's what renewal meant for me.
I'll pick up on that. Same thing. I needed to get away, and to be able to afford the time off. Those are the first two things I wrote down. And then also just to get alone. And then what renewal was kind of came to me during my experiences, but I needed to set up a framework so that I could relax enough and kind of step back from everything that was going on and figure myself out for a little bit.
Do you want to share anything about what it was that you learned about renewal in that experience?
For me,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, sure. And this goes to someone was asking about like how personal to be. And when I was trying to think of, what do I say about applying, being personal and specific about the plan for what you're going to do, those were the two things that I stuck with both of my applications. I was really personal. I was nervous when I turned it in, and I made sure that this information wasn't going to get published in a booklet or put on like a web page or something, because it was super personal. My first the first time I had just gone through a divorce and early menopause, to get specific. And the second time I had a health diagnosis, and I had some lingering effects in my business. My After the pandemic, I just hadn't recovered financially and was just really stressed out. But I was really specific about the personal things. What did you ask me? What was renewing about that?
I heard you say that you had learned some things being over in your renewal experiences about what renewal was. Is that true?
Yeah. What renewal was, and I guess maybe that's why I wrote down. It was like having being able to relax about the money, that I could like step away and cover my expenses to take a trip. And then for me, it was like the quiet. I found answers to things that I had questions about in the time that I set aside away from my regular routines.
Thank you. Brandy, do you want to share anything
Can you
about?
guys hear me?
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I just was making sure I was off mute.
Yeah, we'd love to hear what is renewal to you? What did it look like for you when you were putting this together?
Yeah. So I think that I was looking for a chance to kind of reset. I think reset and just to kind of like, I don't know, get a release. I at the time was kind of experiencing like a drought with like creativity. I just come off of a couple of really big creative projects, and there was one that was like so like top of the moon, like exciting, and then another that was like really challenging. So I had just come off of just what felt like a roller coaster of like experiences, and so just not feeling like I had like a clear like direction of what I wanted to do next, and feeling a bit burnt out as well. But then also like having kind of like a big career change, so I was like juggling that, and I was just feeling like really just not like I wasn't writing anything. It was hard for me to express myself on the page. So I guess I was looking for other forms of expression. Just kind of realizing that even like mentally, emotionally, I wasn't in a great place, which I did share like in my application, going back to the question of, what is too personal. I think I did kind of share like my struggles like with mental health and anxiety and depression. And so I felt comfortable enough to say those things. And, I think with my fellowship, like pole dancing, it was very, kind of outside of like who I kind of thought myself to be, or the box that I already put myself in, which is like a very kind of quiet and reserved person, and also very like just shy about like my body and movement. And I had like no dance, experience before pole. So it was just like an opportunity to kind of be expressive in this new way, and to gain a little bit more confidence. I think to do pole, like you really have to like believe in yourself and just like not be afraid to fail as well. So there was a lot of failing in the process, which is humbling. I think it was important for me to have a fellowship that was like a good balance of fun, but like humbling as well. Because then like once I had like all of these kinds of fails, like in my pole practice, then it's not so scary then to fail at other things. So yeah, that was kind of what it looked like for me, like renewal, I guess.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing all that. You each touched on this already, so if you don't have anything else to add, that's totally fine. But what was going on? And you can be as specific as you want to be or as vague as you want to be, but what was going on that in your life at the time that you applied that signaled to you a need for renewal? And I asked this question to try to I think none of us would like reject a chance for renewal, right? But it helps us to understand like how to communicate best to a group of right, like strangers almost about like what is it that I need to experience. So for you, um, what were the signals for a need for renewal at that time? I heard burnout. I heard, health and mental health. I heard like feeling like lack of creativity and need for expression. Is there anything else you want to add?
I didn't mention this earlier, and it's a question that's been asked a lot about how personal you want to get in your application. And for me, I didn't mention this earlier, but I had also just dealt with the death of my mom. And part of those 4 years that I was working nonstop, I was also caring for my mom. Um, we chose to take care of her here at home. And so that was a big part of the strain that I was experiencing and the need for renewal. Um, and I think that in some ways helped my application, that I was very open and personal about my experience leading up to the renewal. But yeah, it was a combination of mourning following my mom's death, um, just being burnt out at work. It was affecting my work. I just felt like I needed to get the heck out and just, do something. And that was the perfect opportunity to do it.
Thank you.
I
Okay.
Oh, sorry, I was just going to say I agree with that. It's like being able to frame your situation and the whatever point of pain you have that's going on that you see affecting your work, that kind of confluence of issues. That's an important thing to spell out.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, let's talk a little about what it was like for you to make a plan for this fellowship. The sky's the limit. Everything's wide open. So how did you start putting together those dreams?
Well, for me, visiting Japan was like number one on my bucket list, as I already mentioned. But coming upon the opening of the application, started doing a lot of research because I felt in my gut that I was going to get it. I just knew I was going to get it. And I had been going just all my spare time, spending time on Instagram and Facebook, just going through all these Japanese influencers, and seeing what they're doing and what they've got going on. And so that's where the initial planning started for me. Was just I had bookmarks and I would save all the fun reels of places that people were visiting. And then there was a common theme that I saw across all these reels and posts that I would come across, and it drew me to the temples and the shrines. And they have these really beautiful spaces that they occupy. Some of them are very old, very historic, and I wanted to immerse myself in that history. And that's how I developed my plan for renewal. Was turn it into this um, just pilgrimage. It was a pilgrimage. I visited 19 cities, um, all over Japan, starting in Tokyo, and then I relied entirely on the public transit system there, taking Shinkansen to every major city along the East Coast, and then coming back down along the West Coast, and then making a whole loop and landing back in Tokyo in the course of 30 days. And I did all that, just basically finding places that I would bookmark on Instagram and Facebook. But when I did my application, I didn't put that in all that information on there. I just highlighted the major things that I really wanted to touch on, which was visiting the shrines and temples, visiting museums along the way, and then also making room for some fun. Like I also visited Universal Studios Japan, which was a blast, and then a couple of workshops. I was cautious because it's not a project grant, and then I didn't want to put too much in there that would entail that I'm out there learning to do art or anything like that. So I did put in a couple of workshops. I did the Kintsugi workshop, which I mentioned, and I also did a gold leaf workshop in Kanazawa. So yeah, that was how I went about putting together my plan. And then once I learned that I got the renewal, I put that plan into action and started to really hone in on what my day to day was going to look like. And I put an itinerary together, and I shared it with my close contacts in case something happened. They would know where I would be. And so, yeah, I was there by myself for 30 days going on my pilgrimage.
For me, I went about my plan kind of understanding that I might not really travel or I might travel very little, if not, at all, because of just where I was in my life. I just started a new job, like I said, and I just felt like if I took leave, like I wasn't going to set myself up for success for like knowing what I'm supposed to do at my job. So it was a project. It was like a fellowship experience that I still wanted to do here in Indianapolis. So knowing that, like I was kind of just like trying to, dream as big as I could, while still like being like in my hometown, doing enough research to kind of realize that like pole is actually a very expensive kind of experience to put yourself into, when you think about like the actual equipment, like an actual pole, or having a membership to a pole studio. That really adds up. And I did put in my application like some opportunities to go to like pole conventions, to kind of be inspired and to see like some really like cool, really cool dancing. And I didn't, my plans changed and I didn't end up going to those conventions, but I was still able to do like a little bit of traveling. But yeah, I was just kind of like being very realistic about like the kind of, like I wanted kind of like a full experience with this art practice, and I wanted to set myself up for success to do that, and so kind of buying the necessary things to help me be successful, and like equipment. I already said equipment, but like just things to be safe, like knee pads or whatever. And then another thing that was, I don't think was in my initial plan, but just something that kind of came up organically, was the opportunity to like get certified in pole instruction. I felt like I was really going at it very consistently, and I was getting like pretty good at certain skills and at certain levels, and so felt like why not kind of go, like I really enjoyed being in the studio, so why not go and maybe pursue like a certification to teach. So that's just a bit of an expense. So like I wouldn't have been able to do that without the fellowship to go through the certification process. And that was what was one of the pictures like on the slide of me with my certification. So yeah, and that wasn't even in my initial plan, but I was I don't know, already on this trajectory of like just doing the thing that kind of scared me.
Yes.
And but also kind of honoring that like I was getting good at certain things. So like why not kind of celebrate that, with the certification. So yeah, there was a lot, that my fellowship helped me to do with Pole that I really wanted to express in the application.
Perfect. I appreciate that. And I know even like with your plans, Brandy, I don't think that all of those things were outlined in your proposal, but it was more like the concept of the learning and what it would do for you personally at that time was what was made it really compelling, I think.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
Okay, Sean, I'm going to interrupt to ask a different question now that we have just a couple of minutes left. And I'm seeing these questions coming into the chat. Thank you, everyone. Feel free to keep adding them. We will definitely hang on as long as we need to get them answered. But the question I want to ask the three of you now, and Sean, let's start with you. Would you do something differently in your plans?
And are you talking about when I applied, would I do just something differently? Or, we're talking about filling out the application today. So,
As you were even just like imagining like what you wanted to do in your renewal
yeah.
process, like what advice do you have? Would you do something differently or yeah?
I mean, as far as the application's concerned, in the mechanics of applying, I think I would have more. I would have someone read. I'd have a couple of different people read my application. I just want to say that out loud for everybody who's going to apply. Well, I mean, I don't know. I got it both times, so I'm not sure what I would need to do differently. But for my experience, um, I think I might have done more planning to do things with family. I had a little bit of that in there, but that would just be for my own satisfaction. I think it would have been a little bit of a difficult maneuver, but I could see that having been something that would have had even a deeper impact. Um, but overall, I think I got so much out of both experiences that it's hard to think like what would I do differently, honestly. So yeah.
Did any of your plans change or what did you do when plans needed to change?
Yes, my plans. Are you asking me again? Yeah. My plans did change. I was supposed to go to Istanbul in Ireland for my first round, and then my during the year that I was supposed to go to Ireland, I had a big project come up and I just couldn't go. And so um I transitioned to doing some camping in the Southwest because that was part of the journey I had to take to move some artwork across the country. So, and then the plans, my second one, the plans also changed, and it was not a big deal. So it was, I was able to frame what needed to change very clearly in both cases. The second time there was a family emergency, and I had to drop a piece of the plan where I was going to take my mom somewhere. So, yeah, plans changed.
Thank you. Danielle.
I think, oh, sorry.
So yeah, what Sean said about the application, I'm not sure what I would change about it because I mean, I got it. So, and I got it on my first try. And I'm just seeing a question come up that how strong of a writer would each of the applicants consider themselves? Me personally, I applied as a um, arts administrator, and so in my line of work, where I was working, I did a lot of grant writing for our nonprofit, and that helped me sharpen my skills as a writer. But I also, as Sean said, consulted with other other people to look at my application. Namely, I was lucky to be able to share with Ann Laker, who is a grant writer for my place of employment, and then also Anna was gracious enough to look at it as well. So between the feedback I got from them and my experiences writing, I honed it as best as I could, and I was very vulnerable in that application, and I really made a case for my cause, and I was able to get it. But on the actual trip, what I would change is I feel like I may have overplanned, and initially, maybe in the fifth day of my trip, when I had to leave Tokyo and figure out the Shinkansen, uh, it was a very frustrating day that I had to basically nix that entire day's plans because I didn't make it to my destination till in the evening. Uh, And usually it's just a couple hours or maybe like an hour or 30-minute trip to get to the next city on the Shinkansen. So what I would change is maybe not have a very crazy schedule. So my schedule was very crazy. It was very ambitious. I would have maybe given myself more opportunities to just be free and just explore without a plan and um, whatever happens happens. That's what I would have changed.
Perfect. Brandy, was there something you wanted to share?
I was just gonna say that I think I would have still tried to like kind of swing more opportunities to like kind of experience pole somewhere not an indie. So pretty much most of like the people that I've met, other like dancers and was all like in Indianapolis, and I think that was really like manageable for where I was in my life. But I think if I were to kind of like redo it, I would like still try to maybe go somewhere and see what pole is like somewhere else. And then I would also just be a little bit more mindful about taxes. And yeah, so those are my two things. And then I do have to get off now, but I really appreciated the opportunity to kind of listen in and to meet all of you and to talk a little bit about applying.
Awesome. Thank you, Brandy. And thanks everybody else. Thank you for the extra few minutes. Daniel, Sean, Brandy, thank you so much for sharing some of your experiences and your reflections. I will stick around as long as we need to answer everyone's questions. But again, you can reach me or my teammate Corey at grants@indiearts.org. And, go ahead and if you have the capacity, get that application submitted early, and we'll take a really comprehensive look at it and try to give you the best feedback as possible before the final deadline. Let's see, I'm going to go ahead and go through these questions that are in the chat, but if you have to pop off, feel free. Like I said, this is being recorded and we'll post it tomorrow. But thank you everyone for being here. Looking forward to reading more of your applications. Okay, let's see. I answered some of these questions in the chat, but these experiences, like I mentioned before, can certainly include a partner, family member, friends. Absolutely. Um, we had a question about who the panel reviewers are. Are they artists, different folks around the country? Yes, all of the above. It's a group that includes artists of many different artistic disciplines, folks who work for other arts funders too, and folks who work in arts nonprofits or who work for organizations that are solely focused on supporting artists. One question that we should just talk out loud, because I was trying to respond to it in the chat, but I was having a hard time forming a response. But the question is it considered stronger application if your renewal will help you personally and professionally, such as experiencing an art form that your nonprofit organization provides programming for? It is not necessarily considered stronger if your renewal will help you personally and professionally. I think often those things are like, if you're being really thoughtful and really reflective about what renewal is, usually it's personal. Usually it's personal first. Although I'm sure everyone's experience is different, but I would encourage you to first think about personally how this is pursuing a renewing experience for you. Oftentimes it's related to your work, but we certainly wouldn't want you to try to just pursue professional renewal. And we would consider that professional renewal and sustainability and rejuvenation is the intended byproduct of this, but not required. I hope I answered that, but it's really hard to answer that question. Okay. A question about just an eligibility question, and just to reiterate that if you receive that eligibility confirmation, you're good. Just proceed through to the narrative questions. Question about when the money is actually awarded in 2026 or 2027. Worried about taxes and marketplace insurance. Totally fair. It can be either. We will work with you on when you want that money to hit your bank account. But like some of the details that you should read about in the guidelines, this award is paid in 2 installments. You will get $10,000 at the beginning, either in 2026 or the beginning of 2027, depending on what you prefer. And then you'll get the remaining $2,000 after you've submitted your final report. Okay. Have I missed any other questions? If I have, feel free to come off mute and ask them. Or Chelsea, if you see something that I've missed, please let me know.
Hey, I'm sorry. One question I had. I was actually in the rehearsal while we were doing the meeting. The question about when should we focus on one event that we're using for renewal or multiple? What was the answer to that one?
Well, it's up to you. You can do whatever makes sense for you. I often I often hear folks like maybe feel like they were too ambitious with some of their plans. So I would encourage you to think about scaling back just a little bit, just because that's often what folks do is they like kind of over plan. But there's not a limit or a max, whatever makes sense for you.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much.
Okay. All right. I think we got most of them, if not all of them. But if I missed anything or if you have other questions, grants@indiearts.org. You can get me or Corey. Have a great night, everyone. Thank you for being here.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, y'all. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
And I came in
Hello.
just a little late. Do I have a chance to ask a quick question?
Sure. Hi.
Well, hi. I wanted to know two things. One of them was related to as far as the professional artists. Is there a particular sway towards what that looks like once you pass now that we're in this particular part, we know that we can move forward, but will there be like a judgment, I guess, on what the type of professional artist or how long or any of that is just, or is it just based on the answers of everything else?
Yep. It's just the answers to your narrative questions, really.
Okay.
And focusing, I don't know if you saw, but the selection criteria that we shared on the screen, I'll put that up again here so in case you can see it. It's probably going to look pretty small for you, but these are also in the guidelines, just looking for clear need for renewal, that the activities are clearly going to renew you personally or professionally, and that they're feasible. That's what we're focusing on now.
Okay. Another question. How much of the information, especially because I keep hearing, be vulnerable about things, how much of that will be shared beyond the committee?
None.
Okay.
Good questions.
And the other one escaped me. Oh, I wanted to check too. Are you all looking, I didn't see it like for a budget, but are you all looking for us to like share all the things ahead of time or just give an overview of what we're wanting
Yeah,
to do?
just an overview. You don't have to provide a budget. As long as it seems feasible, should be good.
Okay. Ready.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Have a great evening.
You too.
I have a question.
Sure.
I apologize. I was late to the meeting. You had mentioned that the recording will be up tomorrow. Where exactly will it be? On the website, or where can I go to listen to the entire recording?
Yeah, it'll be on the website on the Creative Renewal webpage when you go to indiearts.org.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and send an email to everyone who registered as well.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I did have another question.
Mm.
For the resume and the video or photos that we already submit to get to this particular stage, would it increase anything for us to change those?
Nope.
Or just strictly stick on the narrative part of it?
Yeah, it's really just a narrative. The reviewers will still be able to see all the information in there. They're not being asked to evaluate any of that. The only way that they might even be interested in looking at it is like you've submitted